flexible, like what we can show you during the session as well. So please let me know. And here, if anyone worked with AgentForce for developer in the past, and I was using it, and so I was curious to know what's the difference. So the difference is quite big. AgentForce for developer was mainly like a chat assistant, so you can type and you can ask questions, you can request code to be generated, but it won't generate the code for you. It will just generate the code in the chat, and you have to take it, copy and paste. It doesn't do any action. So it's a chat assistant only. With AgentForce Vibes, will be mainly an agent, and it's more powerful. It's using Salesforce DX, the MCP server, and it will do a lot of actions for you, and it will can be like creating, modifying the file. So everything is not just a chat, it's an agent that can take action on your behalf as well. So it's a big difference, and I love it. Something I like to show, and like I keep highlighting, I like to remind everyone, don't get super excited about AgentForce Vibe to the level that you decide I don't need to learn code. Or if you are a newcomer to the development world and you are starting to learn about Apex and LWC, you may decide, why do I need to learn? It will do it for me. No, the answer is no. In my opinion, again, at least, you need to be developer. You need to go and learn your stuff, because the more you will be precise and accurate in writing your prompt, the output will be better. Does that mean non-developers cannot use it? No, the non-developers can use it and can still prompt, and it will give an output. But I don't recommend that this output would be deployed to production without any review. Again, even if a non-developer generates something with AgentForce Vibes, I strongly recommend that a developer still review it and make sure it's following all the best practices of the company and the best practices you want your team to follow. So again, keep learning and keep augmenting your skills so you can still use it properly. So first part, like, and we will try to cover as much of it today, is we want to take a tour in the Visual Studio Code and AgentForce Vibe and see in action different settings and what it means and what that changed the output for us. So first of all, we have two things here that we can look into. It is the plan mode and act mode. And where we can find them, when you open your Visual Studio Code, that's the on the left here, we said you will find AgentForce Vibes, and you can start typing here. Towards the bottom, you will find you have either plan in yellow, or if you switch to act, it's in blue. And the difference is the plan, if you want the agent to think and you want to confirm that when you give the instruction to the agent, it understood what you want to do, and it tells you exactly what it will generate as an output. So that's where you would give a plan. I want to plan something, or I would write a prompt and I will ask the agent to plan first. So it will tell you the steps and what it will do, and you can have a conversation with the plan and ask to do changes. So when we are doing planning, we are not doing any changes to the code. It's just giving us its understanding and what it can do. When we go for the act mode, this is when AgentForce Vibes will do the action. So if we are asking to create a class, it will create it for us. If we are asking to modify a method, it will do the action and go to the file and modify the file for us. Do we have to always stick to one or the other? The answer is no. You can switch between the two, and you want to plan something and have it to act once you agree on the plan. If you want to do another change, you can switch to the plan and ask, I want to do 1, 2, 3 changes, and you see it how it will plan the change for you, and you can go to the act. If you are working on something simple and you don't care about planning and you're okay for it to act directly, you can just go ahead and start with the act phase directly. So let's see it together. I will go here and I will try to enter a prompt that I want to do a plan. Let's try plan first and see it. I would say, for example, I want to create an Apex class and I want to create a method for me. And I want to highlight something. There is some best practices based on my reading from the documentation, my experience when I was working with AgentForce for developers. The more you will give details for the agent, the better the output would be. So we always like to start with an action. What do we want to do? So we don't confuse the model. Like, I want to create. Am I looking to modify? Am I trying to answer a question? Then I want to give more context if I'm referring to specific file, and we'll talk about context in depth and best practices and additional context. So we'll try to touch base on where we do each of those during the session today. So here I would say act, and I would say, like, I want to plan to create an Apex class called Hello World. That's something context they give. If I don't give the hello word as a text, it will suggest, let's say, take it out. I want say what's the class name with a method to print hello AgentForce. Let's do execute here and let's see the output. So here you will find doing an API request, and I like to highlight what is an API request. API request is the count of how many pro model requests we have. So AgentForce Vibes works with pro model, which is ChatGPT 5, and we have at this time we have 50 API requests available per day. It doesn't mean a task or a change request that you are doing. Whenever you are working with it, you will find sometimes it'll do one API request per prompt, sometimes it will do multiple. So you can, the count will be varying with the execution of each prompt. So you have to be mindful about, or not mindful, but like you have to understand, like the more API requests it will do to do your action, you are consuming more from the ChatGPT 5 Pro model. After that, it switched to the core model for Salesforce. And based on my testing so far, pretty much the output is still good. It's trained, and Salesforce is training this model, so the output is pretty good as well. So here what happened is, when we did the plan, it gave me a result that it will create a class and where it will put it, and it said the name is Hello AgentForce, and it said I will add a static method and I will create the meta file for it. Now let's say I forgot to add the name of the class and I want to say it. If I do act, it say like switch to act and I will start implementation. What if I don't like the name? So maybe I can say here, hello, change class name to hello world. So I can give it from the beginning as part of my context, or if I want to change the plan, I do it. And here I'm giving you a very simple example. So here it changed that the class will be hello world. The meta file is hello world.cls meta file. So now again, it's asking me, okay, I'm ready. Do you want me to go ahead and start working on it? And I can do here act. Once I switch to act, it will start doing the implementation. Until now, no classes got created. Now, because I said act, it started creating the class for me. So it created the hello world.cls. It created the meta file for me. And here it's creating with version API version 60. And here it's asking, like, do you want me to deploy? Because it's one of the steps for the planning. It said optional. If I wanted to do the step 3, I could tell I need the test class, and it's doing step 4 for me now, the deployment. So I can choose either to go with the approve and go for the deployment, or I want to stop it. And you will notice here, for example, with this request, we have 1 API request, 2, 3, 4, 5. So far, it did 5 API requests while we are doing between the planning and the act. So this is how it behaves between the plan and the act. So when do you use the plan is sometimes when you have a big change, you are working on multiple projects or multiple files, you can go for the plan. And with AgentForce 3.3, there is now as well something called deep planning. So planning, it's taking the plan into a more planning in depth, in the background, it will work on 4 steps. So it will do investigation, it will check the code and the structure of the project you have. And then second phase, for the deep planning, it will do for us asking questions tailored to your project. So if you have in your project specific files and the requirement you are giving is not very clear, it will start asking you questions based on your org. The third step, it will create like an empty file for the plan, exact plan, what will be changed, which files will be creating. And the last step, it will do that, it will ask you, are you happy with the plan and do you want to proceed? So let's try this while we are talking about plan and act, because you can see it in more depth how it will work. So I will get here an example for you. You can see it. It's showing in more details in a more complex scenario how the deep planning will work. So I would say here, I have prepared for you for this demo a couple of triggers. So I have the account trigger. If anyone who's familiar with development, you know that it's not a good practice to have the logic within the trigger. So I created 2 triggers with that bad practice, contact and account. And I created another one, which is the opportunity trigger. And in that one, I have the trigger handler and everything. So what you can do here, I can say, okay, I want to refactor the triggers, and I give it here context. Context here, I want to refer to what do I want it to refer to. So I want to refactor the triggers in this folder. If I wanted to name specific triggers, I can name the specific files I want to update. And then I said I want to follow best practice. I want then, if the logic is within the trigger, move it to a handler. I said what naming convention I want for the handler. So that refer as well to like more context. What's the name of the methods I want? Context details here. I give which triggers I'm working with or which folder. So I'm giving detailed description what I want to do. And in that case, I want to refactor and clean the code. But I didn't say I have a good one, don't touch it, or I said just update account and contact. And I said as well, create a test class for the trigger handlers you'll be creating. So, and I will go with the act. Even if we will do the act, we'll see the 4 phases of the deep planning. That's something new for AgentForce 3.3. So let's see it here. The first step, we said it's silent investigation. So you will find that it's going through, it needs some to have access to the files to check my project. There is something called save command allow list. If we want this command in the future not to stop and ask for a request, do you approve me to run this code, this command or not, we can save run command, add it, to the save list. But now, because we don't have it, it's asking for permission. So let's run this command, and it takes time to check the background, like the files. Again, counting API requests, it's doing. The silent investigation is still going. It's checking the triggers now, and it wants to run this command. That's all part of the silent investigation. It's checking all the triggers we have, all the classes we have. It wants to collect all the information about my project. Now it will start asking questions about my project if it needed. So here, in that case, it didn't need any questions. It thought like the questions or the prompt is pretty clear for the agent. It didn't have to ask any questions. In my live session for the English, it had to ask me, like it wanted to ask me, do you want me to create test class as well for the opportunity or not? So sometimes it will find it very clear. Oh, but here we have a question as well. So here I have a few confirmation. Do you want to limit the scope to the 3 triggers? Like, do you want to limit to those 3 triggers? So I have only those 3, so I will say yes. Then second question on handler errors. Do you want to through custom exception, or prefer a record add error logging? We can add error logging for when appropriate. Use add error logging. As third question, the current emoji message behavior and opportunity description. We can say here, I want standard text. It's saying we have an emoji somewhere. Do you want to keep it or you want plain text? So here, that question I will answer will result in updates in the opportunity trigger. Fourth, it's asking hard-coded. Do you want to have we have an email somewhere. It's saying it's hard-coded. Do you want it using custom metadata? I would say no for now. And do you want a shared test factory? Like, do you want me when I create the test classes? Do you want a test factory created or not? So I can say yes for that, for example. So again, those questions, if you run it on a different project, on another use case, you won't have those 5 questions. It will be different. So let's see here. And the third step, it will create for you a detailed plan, an MD file, detailed with what will happen, what will be changed, what are the configuration, test classes, whatever the changes the agent will be doing when implementing the action for you will be listed in that step. So you notice like the planning when we did it for the first use case was pretty quick, and the result came here in the chat. Here, the deep planning is more extensive and it's doing more and it's taking longer. So definitely we don't do it with every project or every use case we want. We'll keep it only whenever it's needed, or we are doing big changes that will apply or need changes to multiple files or creating multiple files. So here it's describing what it created in the MD file. In real projects, you have to read the plan, whether you're using the plan and the result, or you have to read carefully what you have here in the MD file. Otherwise, it's useless. So you can scan it deeply and see if you want to update something, or if your prompt was misunderstood in a way or another, and you add what you want to do. Here, once I will say start new task, what it will happen, it will create a new chat and a new task, and it will refer to our requirement file, and it will start implementing the steps. And we have here the focus chain, and that's to tell the agent to stay focused. What are the tasks? And if like the task is long, it will keep refreshing the focus of the agent, where we are, what you implemented so far. So here it's saying like what we want to update the trigger handler. We want to update the trigger and delegate to trigger handler. So it's created for us 8 steps based on the requirements. And it will start updating the triggers, and it will start as well creating the trigger handlers for us. So that's just to give you an idea. And let me go back. Sorry. I want to go back to our plan and execute. I just jumped to an example just to show you the difference between plan, act, and deep plan, because it's very important, and each one of them will have an appropriate use case when you use them. The next is compare and restore. That's one is something someone like during the live session asked, like, is it risky to do the changes? Do I have a way to go back or not? The answer is yes, there is a way to do restore and to compare the changes. But I would love almost to say you always to have, it's better to have always your GitHub, you have your changes, and to be able to have a backup if something went wrong. But once this is done, I can show you how you can do the compare and restore. It's still working on the changes we did. It's doing the test classes. So everything here, it's still working. We can discuss the next steps, and I can show you the difference. But I can sneak here and say I will do the compare for the trigger. So when I do, it's part of Klein which AgentForce Vibes is a fork from it. And there is a compare and restore. It does like when we do with the transactions as a checkpoint, and it can compare before this change what we had. So this was part of like, let's see here, I do compare. So because it's still running, so it's hard to show it. But once it's done, I can show you. It will show you exactly what was updated in the trigger based on this implementation or this prompt. So we'll come back to it once it's done. One of the things it's very important to know, and I will show you both together. We have something called rules and we have something called workflow. So the rules is sometimes, like as we saw in the example when we created the hello world, it created the file with the meta with the API version, the meta file with API version 60. Maybe we wanted 65, the latest. Maybe I want the naming conventions of a list to start with NLST, or I want to have documentation or comments in certain format, or you want to have selector classes. So maybe within your project and your team, you have standards and you have some stuff you want whenever you use AgentForce for Vibes to respect it and implement it for you. So that's the importance of rules. And there is two types of them. There is global and there is workspace rule. Global will be across projects. Workspace rules will be based on the project or the workspace you opened in Visual Studio Code. So if you have something global that you always want to name variables that are Boolean to start with is or has, for example, that you can have it in the global. You are working for a specific client and they want to have prefix before class names. For example, if you are working on controller, you want, if you are working on order versus quote, you want to have the quote at the beginning as a prefix. That's something will be specific for a certain client. And in that case, you will do it on the workspace rules. So let me show you quickly. Here we are done. So if I do compare, that's the thing that I wanted to show you here. So it's showing me what was deleted, updated, or changed for the task class, for the contact, for the account. Here for the handler, what are the changes? If I have the test factory, this is new. So it's showing me that it created test factory. For the trigger, the changes, we removed the logic, moved it, and created trigger handler and used it. So the compare is good when you are changing multiple files to see exactly what was updated, removed, or deleted. And you can choose to restore. I don't want anything. I want to change to this point. Or if you have multiple checkpoints, you want to go back to a certain one, you can click restore, and I will restore the files. You will find if it created any file, it got reverted, and you will find that the trigger came back to how it was before the action. So the restore and compare is useful in that regard. Let me show you the rule. The rules and the workflows, you will find them here. There is a section for rules and section for workflows. The rules are any configuration you want to, for example, I have here, first to create it, you have the global, that's across all projects, and workspace is for a specific project. So you can write the name of a certain rule and create it, and you start specifying it. Or if it's workspace, you can specify it within this section. So I had this one. For example, it's saying I want to try and catch, and I want naming comments, and what the naming convention for the classes, for the list, and so on. If I try quickly an example for you, I have here a prompt where I want to generate, let's start a new one. I want to generate a class. I specified that what's the name and what's the list. So we'll see it and see the output. I did plan, so no, act. So it will start creating the file for me. And the rule is not active. So we'll find that the API version will go, it will go with the, because I had this file already in place. So it said like, do you want to replace it or keep the old version? I said overwrite. So it will create the file names based on what I decided. But again, we'll find the implementation. It's not following the naming convention I want, like accounts to update. It didn't say LST accounts if I want to. We'll find that the meta file will be 58 or 60. It moved it to 58, and that's because here we'll switch to the core model. We finished the API request for the pro model, so it switched to the core model. If I enable the rule and we try to run it again, you'll find that the naming convention will be followed. The meta file will have the version 65. So the rules, that's the usage for it. Just to give you an idea as well, because we are running out of time. It's a lot to show. The workflows will be repeated tasks. So there is a great example I shared before, and I can share it with the group. Was explaining if you have a Scratch org and you have multiple steps to create a Scratch org and prepare it, you can have a workflow for that. But in my session, I was showing like example scenario where you can have a workflow to create a class. It will create the test class for it as well. It will generate, it will try to deploy the class and test class, and it will run the test classes for you. So whenever you ask for a new class, create the test class for it, it try to deploy it, and it run the test classes for it. I can, if anyone is interested to try it, I can share with the group. But if I enable it now, if I go back into any chat and I do \, I will see that I have a new command here, create and test. So the workflow, you can access it through that. I tested with as well to use it for doing repetitive long prompts as well. So that's something you can try it as well. So so we have the rules for the best practices, and that's where we have like best practices. It's good now to have it as rules for consistency. Action, that's something you put in a prompt. Context is when we refer with the you can refer to a file, you can refer to a method, a specific method. There is different types of things you add in the context. Best practice, mostly now you can have it in the prompt, but mostly if it's repetitive, you can put it in the rule. Additional context is any name you want to add as well. So the workflow is repetitive task or repeated prompts. The context, as I mentioned, you have different types, file, you can folder. So that's here where you add, you'll find different types. You can refer or add context of different types as well. So it's pretty powerful. And it's hard to show you that now, but there is a setting, the settings you can control. You want it to be able to read files directly, or you want it to permission every time it needs to read or edit. You can control it to edit or read the files within your org or external. This is the save command, so it doesn't ask for a request to approve to run your commands. So there is some settings here. You can tweak it and play with it to control how it will behave. But again, due to the time, it's hard to demonstrate for you each single one of them and how it works. We try to touch base about the like best practices for writing prompt. It's very important. In the like in my session, we went through different use cases. I have different use cases in mind that I wanted to test AgentForce Vice with them. The yellow one are the ones that we got the chance in the session live to try together. We tried together the refactor in a way today and using the deep planning. So I hope I was able to cover as much as possible with the time limitation. What is AgentForce? And I hope it gave you some clarity how to start working with it and what you can do using it as well.
Thank you, Sally. I'm blown away by how well you know this. That like the level of detail is amazing. If it's okay with you, can I share your other videos with the group? Because I know that you have more content.
Yes, yes. Like we have 4 videos on AgentForce vibes, and one of the videos we were using is to create a task manager app. We have a similar video how to do the same requirement on Cloud Code and today on Cursor. So feel free, I can share with you the playlist or individual videos.
Awesome. And guys, if you haven't seen Code with Sally, obviously like she knows her stuff amazingly well and is like showing you like actual practical useful stuff that you can turn around and use in your org like the same day, which I think is so cool. Sally, thank you so much. I know this was kind of on short notice. I know you're going from meeting to meeting, so I really appreciate you jumping in there and sharing that with us.
No, you are welcome, and I'm happy to hear.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, guys, we're right at time. And so I want to thank everyone for joining. I thought that was a great discussion and everyone's participation. We are finalizing the details on our kind of networking get together happy hour for December. And as soon as we have that, we'll send it out. Otherwise, I'll just stay on for a minute in case anyone has any last second stuff. But like Josh said, happy Thanksgiving. Have a great day. Sally, how'd your other meeting go?
It was great.